Hello and welcome back to another episode of Coast Football Weekly. This week we've got a very special guest. He's a Mariners legend, former Australian international, and one of the most iconic figures to come from football on the Central Coast. Welcome to the pod, Matt Simon.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for having me.
So tell us what football was like for you growing up on the Central Coast.
Well, when I first started, I played rugby league when I was 5 years old. It was my first year of sport. Played for Lake Mahamora. And the story goes, my mum said that, after the first year, I was getting in a bit of trouble because I was just kicking the ball every time that I got it, dropping it onto the foot. So when I turned 6 is when it was my first season of football. So my first season was at Terrigal. We moved house and moved into Terrigal. And, under sixes at Terrigal was where it all started.
And talk us through when you sort of cracked through to that first grade. I believe it was for East Gosford.
Yeah, so played juniors Terrigal and then moved to Wyoming, and then I went to the Coasties when representative age started. Played there for a few years. Went down to Manly for a couple of years. Then Ku-ring-gai, back to the Coasties. And it was at that stage where I really was trying to become a professional footballer. When I was around 16, 17, I wanted to, my dream was to become a professional footballer. So, I trained full time with Jimmy Tansey. Jim Foley. Forgot his name. Jim Foley. And
Long time ago.
Long time ago now. And it just sort of wasn't working out. Trained with him for about, 16 months to about 2 years. It just wasn't really working out. So I sort of thought I need to sort of get a job now because I'm getting to that age where you need a bit of money and all that sort of stuff. And then I would just want to go back to East Gosford. I think just to have some fun with a few of my mates that I grew up with playing representative football. We all sort of got to that stage where we just wanted to go and have some fun. And so I think I was just 17, 18 when I first went back to East Gosford first grade.
How was that culturally going into sort of local first grade side here on the Central Coast, on and off the pitch?
Yeah, well, look, it was an eye opener for sure because you're obviously starting to play against grown men and no age limit. But we were so lucky as the young kids that were going into that team that we had players like Brett Margin, Derek Casely, Brent Demery, Mickey Coates, Dan Coates, like some good old school players, and I think that really put us in good stead. That real camaraderie around the group was awesome, but that real old school attitude to sort of show the young kids and in myself on how you should behave.
Now, you mentioned some players you played with. Do you remember any competitors from that time, maybe club or player-wise, that sort of stand out as being some tough battles for you?
Yeah, for sure. As we were talking before, like all the entrance boys, like Clint Smith and those boys, was always a good battle, was always up there. Berkeleyvale was a good team. Yamina, there was a lot of players that used to play representative football. They were probably at the back end of their career. I think the standard back then was really, really high.
Yeah, it's still on the coast today. I think a lot of people who obviously aren't from the coast don't sort of understand the quality players we have. Like, we've got a lot of players playing in Newcastle and Sydney, and then even for the Australia Cup, we obviously give the teams a lot of run for their money. Going on past your sort of first grade leading into the Mariners, what did that look like? Did you stay at East Gosford until that opportunity arose?
No, so I actually played at East Gosford for 2 years. And then the Mariners sort of come, on the scene that first year. I went over to England with my partner, and we actually watched Man United versus Liverpool at Old Trafford. It was on my 18th birthday.
Right.
And it was just like instant, Ferdinand scored in the 90th minute.
Scenes.
It was scenes. It was incredible. Harry Kewell was playing for Liverpool. I remember going back to the hotel saying she's my wife now, saying to my partner, I want to be
That's what I want to do
again. That's it. Like, it was just like the penny dropped, and I just had this burning desire all of a sudden. And so I sort of come home and was like, how do I do this? I remember seeing Peter Preston at one of the Mariners games in that first year. He was talking about the Central Coast Lightning at the time, and Andrew Ollier was going to be the coach, and he said, you should come and play. And I said, I want to get out there, and pointed to the pitch. And he said, well, you're not going to get there playing at East Gosford. So, I made the decision to come back and play with Pete and a few of the boys. Clint was playing in that team as well. I played that season with Ollie, and Ollie was a huge influence for me as well. Top coach, a lot of experience in Central Coast football. And then it was sort of just played there, scoring some goals. No real opportunities were, opening up to, go train with the Mariners or anything like that. And then at the end of the year, we played the Mariners in a preseason game for them. It was sort of like an all-star select team from the coast.
Yeah.
And I did all right. I played okay. And then I actually missed a penalty in the game. And Laurie called me the next day. He called me the next day and sort of was taking the mickey out of me for missing the pens, and he's still crying about the missed pen. And, you know, I was devastated, obviously, missing it.
Laurie's good for that.
Yeah, Laurie was good. And I was actually on the tools at the time when he called me. And that's when he said, we're short on strikers for the preseason. You know, we'd like you to come into training and to see how you go. And, yeah, I rang my boss straight away and said, you know, can I take time
Got
off
an
work?
opportunity.
And he's like, yeah, no problem at all. And I went into training. I remember being so nervous when I first went in. Like, he's like, oh, come. We were training at the Central Coast Grammar School at the time. Obviously, we didn't have a base back then. And he said, come in early. The training's about 10. Get there about 8:30. You can have some breakfast. And I'm thinking, oh, hang on, you can have breakfast at training?
This is good. Yeah.
So I was really nervous. Obviously, really nervous. I was driving into training in my work ute and got in there. But the boys obviously, you know, straight away Hutch was instant. Like, just knew I was a new kid, nervous, and just put his arm around me and looked after me, you know, took me under his wing, and that made it a lot easier. You know, guys like Clarkey, all those sort of old school guys again. I think that when I first went there was a lot of older boys from the old NSL. And I think that's what Laurie was so good at, is building a team with good culture.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they made it all really, really, really comfortable for me. I trained there for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, and he said, we want to sign you, you know, for a short-term deal. Back then it was a 4-week term on a short-term deal. And I had to play one more game for the Lightning before I could sign.
Right.
And I got a yellow card in that game.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, another yellow. And I had to serve the one match before I could sign the contract with the professional team. It rained for 4 weeks. I'm not joking. It literally rained for 4 weeks. And you had to serve the match, not a week. And I literally thought I missed my opportunity. I was devastated. I said to Laurie, he goes, no, just serve it. It's okay. We even went down to like Sydney University to play a game one day. It was sunny as 30 degrees, but it had been raining a couple of days beforehand. Get down there, and the cricket pitch in the middle is a mud pit, and the referees deemed it unsafe to play. And I'm like,
go home, boys.
I'm driving home thinking, I'm cursed.
Yeah,
I'm literally cursed. Anyway, I think I served at a midweek game up at somewhere in Sydney. I served it, and Laurie ended up signing me for 7 days. Obviously, there wasn't much time in the preseason left. Signed me for 7 days, and I got to make my debut against Newcastle Jets in the preseason cup at the stadium. And to be fair, I did okay, all right. And Laurie pulled me after the game the next day and said, you know, really happy with how you've done, and last night was exceptional. We'd like you to stay on and keep training, and when there's another injury, we'll re-sign you. And that's sort of how it began. Ultimately, I trained a whole year for free that season. Yep. Until the last 3 games. So I put my apprenticeship on hold. I was still living at home at the time, so I was pretty lucky. Mum supported me heaps. And then, I got to the end of the season, 3 games to go, and that's when my opportunity came to sign for another 3 weeks. Still no permanent contract, just for those 3 weeks. But it was only until we went to Hong Kong Sevens that year, after that first season that I played. And I got the golden boot over in Hong Kong Sevens. We played some big teams like Celtic, Aston Villa. We made the final. We got beat by Aston Villa in the final. Played Tottenham. And it was after that I got offered my first professional contract for a whole year.
What was Laurie like as a coach?
Again, Laurie was a person that you would just die for. He was that person that knew how to build a team together on camaraderie and culture and standards. And you just do anything for him, you know. He was hard when he needed to be hard, but he also enjoyed it, as he always does. So, yeah, he was a good first coach for me to have.
I feel like as a coach, that's half of it, right? Just getting the right players in. You could have the best players in the world, but if they're not clicking, it doesn't mean anything when you step on the field. So I think that's what the good coaches do, right?
100%. Any successful team I've been a part of, the change room is spot on.
Yeah.
And if you get
culture's got to be there.
The culture's there. If you have 1 or 2 just that aren't fitting in, you're not going to be successful.
Now, the first premiership for the club came in 07-08. What do you remember about that season and that squad?
I remember the squad was unbelievable, you know. Johnny Aloisi coming in halfway through the year. Vidi was there. Mile Jedinak, all the boys that we spoke about before, Clarkey, Tom Pondylak, like some really, really
Big
good
name
players.
players.
Yeah, big names, Nicky Merger, Wilco Hutch, all these guys. I'm Gumps at the time, Vuka. It was incredible.
The list goes on.
The list goes on, man. Like, it's honestly an all-star
when you
team
look
now.
back
When
at
you
it,
look back in the players, they were some unbelievable players. But I think we won it on the last day.
Yeah.
We had some good results throughout the year, but the last day we needed results to go away. I think we played the night before against New Zealand, and we got the goals that we needed. I think we won 2-0, and it was pouring down rain. It was shocking weather. Quasar scored an absolute cracker right at the end. And then the next day there was 3 games on the Sunday, all back to back, and we needed all the results to go our way. And we watched the first game and we're like, that's our way. And then Sydney played Melbourne, I think it was Melbourne victory, and then we're like, we're a chance. Let's get to the pub.
Yeah.
So we all went down, met at Terrigal Pub halfway through the second game, and then the last game we needed Adelaide to beat Brisbane in Adelaide, and after 15 minutes, Tiato got sent off at Earl Bowen. I think it was Dodsey. And we're sitting here just going, this. And Adelaide ended up winning 4-1 like that. And that was we were at the pub when it happened.
Do you remember much from that night?
Yeah, I do because it was incredible.
Yeah.
I remember Andy Harper said on the call, he said, I'd just like to shout out to the Mariners players at Terrigal Pub.
Yeah.
So then after like 20 minutes, it was just
everyone come down.
Everyone was there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a cracking night, and it was a good memory.
Now, 08-09, 13 goals for you in 25 appearances as a 22-year-old. How proud were you of that season?
Yeah, that was massive because I think the year before when we'd won it, the premiership, I hadn't scored a goal. So it was starting to play on my mind a little bit. Even though I was coming off the bench, I think I might have started 1 or 2 games in that year. I was sort of just coming off the bench. You got John Aloisi and players like that in front of you. You can't complain. But I started thinking about it a lot. I went away with the Socceroos to the Olympics before that season, and did okay there. Come back and I got my first goal against Newcastle up in Newcastle. That was my debut goal, and it was just like a massive weight off my shoulders. As a striker, it's all about confidence, and start playing mind games with yourself. People, what. All you're thinking about is when you're going into the box, am I going to miss?
Yeah.
Instead of just going, doing your job and scoring.
Having that confidence.
That's it. Once that first one's out of the way, then you feel free and you can just get on with it. I was lucky enough to be in an incredible team again. And, scoring the goals is when you got team players around you that can, put it where you need it to score goals. It was an awesome year. And, I missed out on the Golden Boot by 1 to Smelty. Which was pretty devastating. I knew I needed 1 to go in the last game against Adelaide at home. Searching for it. I think I was shooting everywhere. But, I didn't get it. But, it was a good year.
I believe you got the Mariners medal that year for Player of the Year. What was that like, obviously, with the team you had to win that award? Yeah,
it was huge. I would never expect to, especially that early on in my career, to be voted by your teammates, and obviously the teammates, the caliber of them, to vote me the Mariners medal was, I was shocked, but something I'm really proud of, and the medal has a special place at home right now.
Now, Wikipedia says you turned down a contract the following year for an MLS side. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, Colorado. Yeah. So Colorado did come in, and to be honest with you, it was at a time where I was worried about not playing games, but also I just didn't really feel the contract that they were offering was it just seemed a little bit strange to me. There was a couple of things in there that just didn't feel right. And one of the financial things was if you became MVP of the whole league, the bonus was like 15 grand.
Right.
And I'm thinking that bonus needs to be about 150 grand.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit strange.
Yeah.
And, just something that I passed up at the time.
Yeah. And your last year at the Mariners under Graham Arnold was a first place finish. What was that like winning or did you know at that time it would be your final year at the Mariners?
So that final year when they did win it, I left midway through the season to go to when we lost the grand final to Brisbane.
Yep.
And then we played that next season. I left that next transfer window in January.
Yeah.
So I was coming off contract. that year. I was in the final year of my contract, and the Korean club came in and they showed interest in buying me from the club. And to be honest, I thought this was probably the opportunity to go. It was, I'd done a few years now. I really wanted to be coached by Arnie because I had him in at the Olympics. I wanted to be coached by him at the Mariners. And that was another reason why I turned down the Colorado thing as well. I actually got offered a deal to go to Sheffield United
as well.
before Arnie's first season came in. But it was when Kevin McCabe was the owner, and we sort of had that sister partnership between the two clubs. And I felt that it was more them trying to show a good relationship than them actually wanting
good intention.
me. Yeah, because I've got a UK passport, but they owned a team in Hungary as well, so they wanted to sign me, send me on loan to Hungary.
Yeah,
and this is like
you see that a lot with the FIBA clubs.
I was just going to disappear into the abyss. Just like, and I knew Arnie was coming in, and I really wanted to be coached by him at the Mariners because I sort of knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then the Korean club came in a year and a half later, and to be honest, financially it was just too good to turn down. And I thought it was going to be a step up in football as well. And I played for Australia by then, and I thought going overseas I'd be, if I can get good consistency, I'll be in there more often. And to be fair, Korea, it was good for the club, good for me. But for my football, it just turned out to be an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
It was just, a disaster. I went over mid-season here, went straight into a 3-month preseason over there, and the preseason was tough, really tough. I got injured in the first game, and this it's a story in itself. It went on for 6 months. Just MRIs, going to see doctors, flying to Seoul, seeing specialists, and just saying nothing was wrong with me. After about 6 months, I played about 4, 5, 6 games, I think it was, in those 6 months, just on one leg, just trying to push through the pain. After 6 months, they finally let me go back to Sydney after just begging them to let me, I got to a point where I couldn't get in and out of the car properly.
Right.
And I went and saw John Reed down at St. Leonard's, the radiologist down there. And as soon as he put the ultrasound on my groins and my stomach, he just goes, you need to go see a guy called John Garvey. He's a groin surgeon. He goes, you're an absolute mess. So, and I was actually relieved. I was actually quite emotional because I was relieved because I knew something was wrong, but I just kept getting told that nothing was wrong. Pains in your head, push through it. And, so I had to have a groin operation to lengthen the tendon in my groin because I had a massive tear in there, and then I got osteitis pubis from trying to run around on one leg for so long. The Korean club actually wanted me to stay in Australia until I was fully fit to come back. So I was like, awesome, I can do my own rehab and all that sort of stuff. The coach got sacked while I was here after the first 4 weeks, and the new coach called me back to Korea. So I'd only been, 4 weeks after surgery. And the surgeon said, he goes, this surgery, if you're fully fit and strong, you could probably play 4-6 weeks afterwards. But in your condition, you need to rebuild your whole bottom half of your body. Like, it's just a mess. You need to do some good rehab. I went over with all the reports, everything, and sure enough, mate, they're just like, you're running. I was running with a parachute on my back the first 2 weeks back, and they're just trying to get you up to speed as quick as possible. And I ended up tearing all the scar tissue in my groin, trying to have a shot, and it was a crazy explosion in my mind. And being over there, I just thought I'd ruptured my whole groin, like just ruined the whole surgery and all that sort of stuff. I'm emailing the surgeon, he's emailing me back, goes, no, don't stress, it's just this is what you need to do. And I'm like, I'm just stuck here. This is not getting any better. So I was sort of over there for rehab for, from mid-year up until the end of November, just struggling, looking forward to getting the season over with at the end of November, coming home to Sydney and seeing the specialist again, seeing proper physio and doing some rehab. The Koreans made me stay. Everyone left the clubhouse, and they're like, you're not allowed to go home. You have to stay here and do rehab. And they knew because at the time, the 15th of December was our engagement party, booked back at home, all organised. So that was a hard phone call to make to say I wasn't coming home. But they were obviously just trying to make me walk away because I still had 2-year contract left. And luckily enough, I was always in touch with the PFA. The PFA said, whatever you do, just stay there and do what they say, or they can come after you for your contract and for the transfer fee that they paid the Mariners. So I just stayed there. I did my rehab just by myself. I was going to clinics and just kept turning up. I booked my wife at the time, my wife, on a plane to come over at Christmas time. I asked the team manager to get her a bus from the airport to the city we were in, and they were shocked she was coming. They were like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, it's Christmas. I'm not going to sit here by myself."
That's right.
They're like, "Oh, he's not going anywhere."
Yeah.
Then they said, "Oh, you can go home now." My wife literally flew into Korea. Next day, we hopped on another plane back to Australia.
Go back home.
Yeah, to have Christmas at home. And again, they said, stay home until you're right to come back. Again, they're just playing games, you know. After 3 weeks, got to come back to Korea. And that's when the coach said, you're one of 4 foreigners. I can't take the risk of waiting for you to be fit. I need you to play. And I just said, look, I'm nowhere near ready to play. I saw Andrew Nealon at the time when I come back home, incredible physio. He said, you need a good 6 to 8 months to get your body right. Yeah. So yeah, I just said to him, well, I've got a 2-year contract. It's up to you guys to do what you want, because I'm not going anywhere. So, you know, so we ended up coming to a mutual agreement.
Yep.
And I think I left there in about April. So it was about 15, 16 months after I first went. So yeah, obviously devastated that it didn't work out football wise. But yeah, it set me back definitely in my career.
And outside of playing and injuries, what was the main challenge of living overseas, especially in somewhere that's English isn't the first language?
Apart from the football and the injury, I actually loved living there.
Yep.
It was an awesome place to live. I actually had Robbie Cornthwaite in my team, another Australian. You know, we lived in the same building. You know, we had a clubhouse with our individual rooms when we needed to be there, but the foreigners always had like a separate accommodation, and we lived up the road in an apartment building. Wilco was down the road at John Book, an hour drive. The people are really nice people. The culture's beautiful. The food is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it's a really good place to live. And it's, you know, it's not too crazy. It's only 10 hours to Australia on a plane. So I actually really enjoyed that side of it.
Yep.
But because the football was so bad, like for my career, it was
the
hard
rest of
to, but you know, I could play my whole career there for sure.
And now, after coming to that agreement, was a homecoming for the Mariners always on the card, or did you have other options? Or
yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't always on the cards. It was the Koreans were looking to loan me somewhere over in Korea, like maybe second division or something like that. And I was like, "There's no point loaning me. I can't run. You know, I couldn't even get out of bed properly." So yeah, it was to come home. I had Melbourne Heart at the time.
Yep.
Wanted to sign me when John Aloisi was the coach. The Wanderers, when Popovich was there, I actually failed the medical. I went and did a medical with the Socceroos doctor, and I failed the medical.
Yep.
And then I spoke to Arnie. My preference was always to come back to the Mariners.
Yep.
It's all I knew. I knew the staff. I knew everyone around the club, and I just really needed to. And Nilo was the physio at the club at the time, and I just really needed to get back in that environment to get my body right and start loving football again. And luckily enough, it got to a point where I finally signed the contract, and the rehab. It took a good 6 months before I could even start kicking a ball.
When did you feel like you were finally back?
It took a while because I was never really out of pain. Like I got to a stage where I was strong enough to train and play, but I still had pain.
In that pain.
And Nilo was like, that's the bit that you have to push through.
Yeah.
So you can strap it, you can wear the special pants, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it just took time. I reckon it probably took a good 12 months before I started feeling back to normal.
Yep. And then you reunite with Graham Arnold at Sydney. Talk us through that decision.
Yeah, so that was a tough period of my life, professionally and personally. It was, you know, that last year, so I come back, I did all my rehab. Arnie left to go to Japan. The things didn't work out for him there. He went to Sydney. But so I had 2-year contract. In the second last year of my contract, we finished the season. We went for the off season. My wife was actually pregnant with our first child, and she gave premature birth to our daughter at 27 weeks. So she was like 3 months early.
Yeah.
We were stuck in Hawaii at the time. We went to Hawaii for like a belated honeymoon.
Right.
We were meant to be there for 12 days. We actually got stuck there for 3.5 months.
Wow.
So yeah, for her to survive is a miracle.
Yep.
She was only 980 grams when she was born.
Wow.
Not many people know that because I'm a pretty private
Yeah.
person. But yeah, that was a tough time in our lives. Being stuck in Hawaii. So I missed all of that preseason. Mossy was coach. I missed the whole preseason. I'm like, this is going to be a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but obviously my main concern was
Family takes priority,
my
right?
daughter,
Yep.
and we're over there by ourselves. We're lucky enough family come over to visit here and there. And then we finally were able to come home after about 3.5 months, and it was 2 weeks before the season started. Luckily, the A-League is such a long preseason.
Yeah.
And then, I was just behind the 8 ball. I didn't
Yep.
play for the first few rounds. Mossy was the coach. I think I played a few youth team games to try and get up to speed. I was trying to stay fit in Hawaii, but it was difficult. And it was just a tough year. I was always behind the 8 ball. You miss the whole preseason. You're never going to get in front of the fitness levels that you need to be. And then Mossy ended up getting sacked, and my other groin went, which is a high percentage chance of getting when you have that surgery, the other groin. So the surgeon actually at the time wanted to do both. He goes, the other one will go eventually.
Right.
And that last year of my contract, the other one went.
Yeah.
And again, I was trying to push through because I was off contract, and I'd had a bad season anyway. I still scored some goals, but I think I was 6 or 7 goals or something like that. And, you know, Tony Walmsley, after his worldwide search for a new coach, he picked himself as the coach. So he was the coach towards the end of the year. And, I couldn't play. I had the surgery and was doing rehab. And, he pulled me one day. I think they travelled home from Adelaide, pulled me one day at Terrigal after recovery. I was down there for some treatment. He just said, he goes, we're just letting you know we're not going to renew your contract.
Going different direction.
We're going different ways, and I just asked for an explanation, and he just literally said we're going in a different way. It was obviously devastating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the club that gave me my opportunity, and I'd been there. It's my local club. I was just going through this injury. I've just gone through what happened in Hawaii, and it was sort of like the floor just fell away from underneath me. That was a tough time. For a few months, I had nothing. Perth Glory showed a bit of interest, but I was sort of like, I might as well just try and get to Indonesia or something.
Yeah.
Being over there, but because of my family situation at the time, I couldn't go anywhere. And then luckily Arnie reached out and said, "How are you going?" And I just was honest with him. I said, "I'm struggling.
Yep.
I've got nothing." And he was like, "How is your body?" And I said, "No, I'm fine. Because I actually got back and played the last 3 games of that season for the Mariners. It was a quick turnaround because I was actually fit when I had that second operation. So I think I played 4 weeks after the surgery. Still a bit of pain, but the surgeon said it was fine. I was able to get through it. And again, I was off contract. Even though I'd been told that I wasn't getting another one, I still wanted to,
show yourself.
So there's a bit of pride in that. I was getting back after 4 weeks. But nothing eventuated. And then, Arnie gave me the chance to go down there. And to be honest, I'll be forever grateful for that opportunity because it was incredible. The time in Sydney, 3 years, was, again, just another team that just had unbelievable players, and the culture. And Sydney, what they have now in terms of facilities, that wasn't there when I was there. We were in the old building at Macquarie University there, and it was like really bad. Mariners had better facilities, hands down, back then. But it was just the culture again. That first year I went, I think Ninko's first year, he came. And then Arnie, after the second, we didn't even make the finals. We came 7th, I think, and Arnie was under a bit of pressure. He made 3 or 4 changes. Brought in Wilco, Brillante, Bernie Abini, Vuka, and there was just bang, instant. And then obviously Ninkovic just turned it on as well. He got a medal that year. Bobo came, and it was incredible. I think we still got the record for 66 points. I think we only lost 1 game.
Yeah, he's won a lot in your time during.
Yeah, we only conceded 11 goals that year. Like, it was just that was the time when I remember Wilco saying to me, like, I room with Wilco at Sydney. He's like, how good is it when you go out and you just know you're going to win?
Yeah.
If you implement the game plan that Arnie puts in place, because he's so detailed, if you implement what he says, you're going to win the game. It's just by how much. And that's literally what it was. That's what it felt like that year.
So the players had that much faith.
100%. Yeah. And he would just show you on video of like, this is how we're going to win the game. And he'd show you examples. And then it would happen in the game. And you're just like,
Genius.
it's just like
Next
Houdini.
level. What was it like returning to back then Blue Tongue Stadium for the first time? And I think you come off the bench, it was 1-1. You score a double, win the game for Sydney.
Yeah.
Talk us through the emotions behind that.
It was a tough day because I was so nervous going back. You know, obviously all my family and friends are there.
Yeah.
And I think probably I was most nervous because I don't think everyone understood the story behind me being at Sydney. They just thought, oh, you've just been gone to Sydney.
Yeah.
You know, you've more money. I was actually like, man, I was just above minimum wage when I went to Sydney because there was towards the start of the season, they didn't have much money left and I didn't have anything. So I needed to do something. So I wasn't on much money at all at Sydney. And yeah, coming back and it was a close game. I remember it was a close game and going on, and Arnie put me on and he said, it's written in the stars for you. And it's incredible of how often in world football that happens when plays against their old team and scores. And yeah, I think those 2 goals that night, technically it was probably the 2 best goals that I've ever scored in my career. Clarkie joked with me after, he goes, you were possessed by some demon. But yeah, it was a good feeling just because of what me and my family went through and to be there. I was so grateful for Sydney for giving me a lifeline, and the person that made that decision was the head coach of the Mariners at the time still. So yeah, it felt good. It did feel good, if I'm honest. You know, it wasn't great scoring against the club that I love, but what was behind it and, you know, how it come about, it did feel good.
Yeah, so you see it a lot. Players play their old club. They do sort of the noble thing, I guess, and not really celebrate. There wasn't. I've looked it back. There wasn't much celebrations from you. Was there any part of you that maybe want to just run down and maybe give a little knee slide or anything like that? Just run to the other side of the
No, not at all. I think you know, that respect for giving me my opportunity back in the day. You know, with Laurie and all that, and the players that I played with. And still my hometown.
Yeah.
I remember Arnie saying, whatever happens, just be humble before the game, be humble. And I just thought I'd just throw the shuckers up because, you know, not if everyone knows, but I think they know about the shuckers.
Yeah.
My daughter was born in Hawaii, so it's the mahalo to her every time I scored. And yeah, I think just the goals spoke for themselves, really. But then I think it was the year after when we were playing for the premiership and we needed a win. I scored at Blue Tongue in
another winner.
Minute. It was like a deflection cross from Carnes.
Yeah.
It was just like a weird, like real tight angle, bounce into the ground up in the roof. And I celebrated with that one, ran to the crowd because I hadn't scored in ages, so I was feeling a bit of pressure. But also it was
the stakes of the situation.
To win the premiership as well, get first, because it was such a massive advantage finishing first, you know, host the grand final and stuff. So it was a bit of a you know, just a bit of relief, I think.
Yeah, so you obviously had the love for the club still. In your second return back to the Mariners, you were made captain. What did that mean to you? Yeah,
so Monty reached out. He touched base first of all when he was becoming assistant, called me and said, I want you to come home. And I was thrown back a little bit, to be honest. But it's instantly I just thought, oh, this is something I want to do. Sydney were offering me a new deal. They would only offer me a 1-year deal because I was over the age of 30. That was sort of their thing back then, unless you were a Ninko.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough. Fair enough. And then, Mariners, it was still a difficult decision. I wanted to do it, but it was difficult because of what happened before, you know, I went to Sydney. But once I took the emotion out of it, sat down with my wife, and because I never moved to Sydney, I stayed on the coast. I lived in Saratoga. I travelled every day for 3 years. So once I took the emotion out of the decision, I think it was the best decision for my family. And I know it was the right decision because I was able to come home and sort of pick up of where everything sort of finished. It was like unfinished business type of thing.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a good feeling. And then to be named captain was an honour, really, because we've had some incredible captains over the years.
Throughout the years, definitely. And then obviously retirement 2022, obviously injuries cut your career short. What was it like having to come to that decision?
Yeah, so I ruptured in one of the games, FA Cup, was Monty's first game, I think Blacktown in Mudgee. I ruptured the C7 disc in my neck. And after about 4 weeks and and we got some surgery, and that's when we realised it was ruptured. They took the piece out. and I tried to get back onto the field. The surgeon was like, you can play if you want. I tried for the whole of the preseason. For the whole of that year that I was trying to get back. And then I tried for the next preseason as well. And it just ultimately just got to a point where the surgery really scared me, like anything to do with the neck. And I remember
definitely.
like the surgeon was like, just gave me this pamphlet and I was looking at this cartoon drawing of what they were going to do. And I remember looking and going, man, that is sketchy.
That's full on.
Right next to my spinal cord.
Yeah.
I was so nervous for the surgery. And then the next thing is, if they have to go in and take the rest of it out and put a fake disc in, they've got to go through the front, move everything to the side. It's like a 5-hour operation.
Right.
Which I came to terms with I was prepared to do if I needed to, but I just got to a point where I couldn't train fully and play properly without any pain or hesitation. I was just always scared of something happening with my neck.
Yep.
So I was always thinking if there was a ball to be, one in the air, or I had to head the ball, or I didn't want to let anyone down.
Yep.
Mainly my family and myself, but also my teammates.
Yep.
I didn't want to go out there ever half,
not giving it your
not
all.
committed, and I wasn't, I was always in the battles, as everyone knows. So
you never like to shy away from one.
That's it. So I just, when it got to a point where I couldn't give 100%, it was the decision to be made. So it was a tough one. I remember there's the documentary that's out, when we did all the documentary stuff, and they mic'd me up and filmed me at training because they knew I was going to announce it to the team. It only shows like 10 seconds, but that actually went for about 15 minutes because I couldn't talk for the first 7 minutes. I was just literally, once he goes, Simo's got something to say. And I just stood there crying. I couldn't actually talk. It was like, I thought, no, I got this, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
And just to try and tell your teammates after so many years, 19 years, 20 years of playing, it just sort of hit me at once. It was like, you actually,
this is the
you're
decision.
speaking the words that you're never going to play the game again. So it was tough. It was a tough decision, but ultimately I think it was the best one for my health.
Yeah. And now life after football, you're still involved with the club to this day as sporting director. What's that transition been like?
It's been awesome. I'm so lucky, that Rich was the chairman at the time and Monty was the coach at the time. But especially Rich, he realised how hard it sort of hit me, but he really liked who I was as a person, my integrity and how hard I worked. So I was lucky enough that, when I first stopped, they made me head of recruitment and player welfare because they knew I was still close with my teammates.
The playing group,
so I could have that access to the change room and sort of feed that back, what was needed to feed back to the staff.
Yeah.
It was probably 3 or 4 months of doing that role, and I was sort of starting to talk to other clubs overseas, football agents, and starting to do the transfers and all that sort of stuff. And it was the staff that sort of said, Simo's doing everything as a sporting director, but he can't have head of recruitment or player welfare at the bottom of his email. He needs to become the sporting director. And Rich agreed and said, 100%. And I said, look, I don't really care what I'm called. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, but then they made the decision to say, no, you're dealing with some international clubs. I think it's the right thing to do. And lucky enough that they appointed me sporting director, and I think it's been three years now, just under 3 years. And I've loved it. It's time consuming. It is time consuming, obviously dealing with international clubs, international agents. You could be on the phone 1, 2, 3 in the morning because of time differences. But I love that side of things. And the best part for me is when a player from our club, especially like a player that's been there a long time, gets a move overseas and you've been a part of that. And not a part of them doing well as playing, but I think the culture that you set, the standards that you set, gives them that environment to be able to really excel, and then being a part of the negotiations with whoever they're going to go to.
Now, a lot of the players you played with early in your career, like your Kwasniks, Porters, Hef, Rosie, to name a few, they all did come back and play locally on the Central Coast. Was that ever a plan of yours to go back maybe to the Rams for one more year before obviously the retirement?
Yeah, it did. It's crossed my mind, and I've got a lot of friends that have been playing at all age, for the last 4 or 5 years, and they kept on peppering me saying, come back for 1 year. But it was realistically, it was just my neck as well.
Yeah.
Number one, my neck. Number two, the time that just only up until this current season, I was still traveling with the team. So for the last 20 years as a player, and I'd travel with the team either as a player or as sporting director. and that's minimum 3 days, mostly on weekends. It's just no time, basically. So I just got to a point where I was just like, and then it got to a point where I'm like, I can't run anymore.
Yeah.
The cardio is like, too bad. So I'm, a bit nervous to actually try and put the boots on again.
Do you have any other adventures going on in your life at the moment?
Yeah. My wife and I were just about to open up a new Anytime Fitness out at Yamina.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so that's been in the works for probably the last 12 months, a bit over actually. And it's due to open up at the end of April, which we're excited about.
Mm-hmm.
The old fruit shop down there, turn into a brand new gym. But it's been a lot of work, but excited to be able to bring that to everyone in the peninsula. It's big passion, obviously, with the background that I have in sport, health and fitness. And it's going to be a nice, shiny club for everyone to enjoy.
Do you have any other hobbies? Are you a golfer or?
I wish I was a golfer.
Yeah, so do I.
I wish I had time for golf.
Yeah.
But I do like golf. But probably my biggest hobby is fishing. I love going fishing. Anytime I can get out, fish with the family or just with friends, I think it's the best reset of the mind. Just get away from everything. No football. And clear the mind. I think it's awesome for mental health. I love fishing. Golf, I love golf. I've got a brand new set of clubs for my 40th in end of January. I've used them once. So I'm hoping I get a bit more time to be able to go out and use them.
Takes up a long time.
Yeah.
We went to socials to let our followers know that you were coming on. We got a few questions. The first one was, who's the best defender you've ever gone up against, you think?
Oh, that's a good question. There have been a few for different reasons. I have to say Wilco is definitely one of the best that I've played with, but also played against because he played for Melbourne City and he played at Sydney when I come back. He was an incredible player. And even in training, especially that first year at Sydney, I'd be on the Stiffs team or second 11 and he'd be in the first team, and playing against him every day, it was just like,
a nightmare.
Oh, man. Every single day, it was just like 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10. And then he could be 10 out of 10, but he would never be less than an 8.
Yeah.
Incredible player. And then you got the hard guys that are like Muskie, Maury. They were hard to play against, especially like Muskie and that. They're proper old school. Like, they try to hurt you.
And you like to get stuck in. So
I'm just like, I loved it. But,
you'd be up for a battle.
And Jamie Harmwell as well, like when he was playing at the back, those guys. Yeah, I knew it was coming, but I enjoyed it,
embrace
antagonizing them a little bit,
Yeah.
but they were hard. You knew that you were going to, after the game, you knew you played a game for sure.
Who do you think is the best player you've ever shared the pitch with?
Oh, man, there's some good ones.
Yeah.
There are some good ones. Ninkovic is up there. Ninko's up there. He just did everything so simple, so easy. You couldn't even get close to him on the training pitch. I think that year that he won Johnny Warren medal was crazy. He was incredible. There's so many players that you go like John Aloisi, like to the career that he had, the stature that he had in the game. Vidi, like these guys, incredible servants to Australian football. Like, when I think back and go, the players that I got to play with was crazy.
Yeah.
Mila Jedinak, Tom Pondylak was a good player. He could do special things. And he was a funny one, Tommy, because I remember my first ever game against Sydney FC, we won. It was torrential rain. We won 1-0. Petrosky scored. I went in the shower and Tommy's in the shower just with thongs on and a bunger. Having a bunger. And I was like, I was just young. My first game. And I was like, special football, smoking in the shower. And he's like, it was just, just celebration, having a little bunger. But, he was an incredible player, fit as. I was saying when he was just having a smoke to celebrate, but he was so fit. He'd win all the testing, but what he could do on a pitch was incredible.
Made it look easy, though.
Yeah, made it look easy. He made it look easy. And just would do things that you think were impossible as well. But there'd be so many that I'm missing.
Yeah.
Bobo was a goal scorer, like I think 28 goals in that year that we won it.
Favorite goal you've scored?
Favorite goal. I'd have to say any goal that I scored at Central Coast Stadium.
Yeah.
They're hard to come by, the goals, but I think any goal that I ever scored in front of my family and friends. A couple of standouts, the two that I scored for Sydney at home, not because of what they were, but
what you were going
Yeah,
through.
I think technically those 2 goals as well as a striker. If I had scored 3/4 of my whole tally of goals like that, technically, I probably would have gone to a higher level.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed those ones. There's the one against Western Sydney when Marco Urania played me in, and I dinked the keeper. I enjoyed that one, and any goal that I scored against Newcastle.
Now, looking back on it all, you're the Mariners' all-time leading goal scorer. The only Mariner to have their jersey number retired, multiple trophies, multiple honours. You represent your country. Is there one memory that sticks out as being the best throughout your career?
Yeah, I think there's a few. Representing my country, obviously, first and foremost at the Olympics, become an Olympian. I still get a text message and a letter in the mail every single Olympian day. This is a bit of a write-up that you get and says once an Olympian, always an Olympian. So that's pretty special to open, when it comes in the mail, I give it to the kids. And, I've got the badge that was on the blazer. They frame it for you and it says 2008 Olympic team. And playing for the Socceroos is probably... I don't have any regrets, but one thing that I wish that I was able to do was to be able to stay at the level required to, I've got 2 caps, which I'm really proud of. I've got my baggy green.
They're not easy to come by.
But I would have loved to be in a position to have that level of consistency and health in my body to be able to, get that number up there. But yeah, I've got those 2 and something I'm really, really proud of. Singing your national anthem on a football pitch is pretty special. And everything that I've done in clubland, obviously having my number retired is probably something that I didn't really realise what it was at the time. But looking back now and the life membership for the club and I never really think about it as being up there as like a massive, but when I do sit back and think, I go, they are pretty big achievements and probably something that will, as time goes on and my kids get older and sort of understand that stuff as well, I think that would be pretty special.
Well, Matty, thanks for coming on and thank you for everything you've done for obviously football on the Central Coast here. You're honestly an icon to the game on the Central Coast. So thank you very much.
No, thanks, mate.
Thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Coast Football Weekly. Please remember to like and subscribe on YouTube and leave a rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We'll catch you next week for another episode.